as I was walking up with Dr. Wodo a few days ago, he said something that this will be the first, or maybe one of the first program put together that will start on time. So you see, today is not the first day. And I want to commend you for being here at this time. You've done so well. Thank you very much. We're going to start straight away. Before we do, it's our culture to pray. So I'm going to invite one of us to pray for us. Mrs. Steven, can you please pray for us, please?
Shall we all stand, please? In Jesus' name. Amen. Our Lord and our God, we want to bless you for this opportunity. We give you praise, O God, because we know that even before we gathered here, you have moved ahead of us. You have come, O God, to prepare the grounds for us. And we know, Lord, that everything that will happen here today will be to your own glory. And so, Lord, we give you all the praise. We worship you because we know that everything will work according to plan, and you will make a name for yourself. We hand over everything to you. Take control, O God. Let your name be exalted. In Jesus' mighty name we have prayed.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much for that. I won't waste much of your time because we've wasted enough time. I'm going to go ahead and take the first item on our program, which is a welcome from the mayor. Mayor, please put your hands together.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and first of all, thank you very much for inviting me here today. And I'm proud to be Lord Mayor of the City of Coventry. City of Coventry, as you probably know, is one of the most diverse cities in the United Kingdom, and I think it's fantastic that we have people from all over the world who have come to make their home here. And the city is also renowned as a city of peace and reconciliation. It's one of the ministries that we regard very special and we take throughout the world. And I know that your own community is also a very peaceful community, and one, obviously, you have your own sort of struggles that are sort of widely known. But certainly, as we move forward in Coventry, one of the things I'm very interested in is hearing about the Igbo community and the role that they're going to play, particularly as we come into the City of Culture 2021, which we were very fortunate to win. The City of Culture is very prestigious, and it's one thing that I, as Lord Mayor, have noticed that there's an increasing number of people who are interested in Coventry as a city. We certainly have. One of the questions I often get asked is, why do you think Coventry won the City of Culture 2021? And we have our big industries, we have our two wonderful universities. But most of all, I believe the reason why Coventry won it was because we are so diverse as a city. We are a city where people of different backgrounds, different races, different religions can come and live in peace and harmony. And that relates back to the doctrine of the City of Peace and Reconciliation. So I'm looking forward to listening to what's going to be said this afternoon. I'm very sorry that the Lady Mayoress and I, because of the previous engagement, won't be able to join you with your celebrations tonight. I was fortunate to come along last year to see some of the traditional dancing and eat some of the food, the traditional food of the Igbo community. But can I wish you all the best for your special day, the day of the celebration of the Yam. And just say thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, for that brief but packed welcome speech. I want to say thank you very much.
During the campaign. You're so relaxed.
Let me use this opportunity to also invite the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Ian Dan, to please welcome our guests. Please put your hands together for him.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, distinguished guests. Thank you so much for inviting me to come along. And my job is simply to say welcome to Coventry University. It's a great pleasure. Coventry's special, not because of all the wonderful things that the Lord Mayor said, but Coventry University is special because of some people that are sitting over here, some of our students who absolutely make the most, make this university campus and all of our campuses diverse, interesting and passionate. And I think that's, sorry guys, but you do a great job to bring people together. And our students play an enormous part in the city, in all of the places in which we operate. And that's really important at this time, because the place of a university, particularly one that sits right in the middle of its city and is very proud to be part of its city, needs to have students who are passionate about where they're studying and where they settle, and that's really, really wonderful. So what I really want to say is have a wonderful day, enjoy the discussions, your seminar and your conversation. I know you're going to have some fantastic inputs. I'm sorry I can't stay simply because today is clearing, and this is like the busiest weekend in my recruitment life. And if we don't fill all the places, then we don't have the fabulous students who are going to be in the Students' Union for these guys to work with. So I ask you to excuse me for not being with you for the rest of the conversation, but you are most welcome to Coventry, and I do hope that you enjoy the conversations that you're going to lead. So thank you very much for being with us, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Okay, we will go straight to the first talk, the first lecture. I will be delivered by a highly experienced person. Coventry became a city of culture last year, and that opens Coventry to organizations, cultural festivals. And though the Igbo community New Year Festival has been held for a number of years, we've not opened it up to city of Coventry per se. It has been limited to Igbo and the people of Igbo descent. But in our meeting this year, we thought it wise to begin to look at how the Igbo community can impact the city of culture, the city of Coventry, and how we can begin to make our presence known. Because we know that other people have made huge impacts in influencing what happens here in Coventry. And we thought it wise to begin the journey this year. Hence, our coming together for a lecture like this. This is not intended to replace what happens back home, like the academic lecture. No, what we want to do is to come here, get ourselves informed, be involved, and do what we got to do, since Coventry today is the city of culture. Today, we have someone who is a chartered engineer, a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Chemical Engineers. I want to tell you that, apart from the fact that he's been here for a very long time, he's impacted several departments, several institutions, and he's a well-known professor from University of Wolverhampton. Professor Odwazo, who will be taking the first lecture, is from the Igbo descent, from the Igbo, as you know him. And one thing we think is that having lived here for years, and having studied in Nigeria, and having traveled wide, he will be able to tell us why the Igbo culture in the city of culture. Because if we know what we ought to be doing, how we ought to be moving, we will do better to impact our generation here in Coventry. Please, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as you help me welcome Professor Odwazo.
Mr. Mayor and Lady Mayoress, Chief Barrister Nwodo, Deputy Vice Chancellor in absentia, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to observe all the protocols and with respect to everybody. Thank you very much for introducing me. Very, very kind, and a lot of words you have said about me. Thank you, Chair Eric, Chief Eric, for you and your group for asking me to come over and speak. All I wanted to say really at the moment is that I am a chemical engineer. I am not a sociologist or anthropologist, but you decided to invite me to come and speak on this occasion, and I thought I was going to give it my best shot to be able to address the topic that you have asked me to look at. I think it was Professor or Sir Sesekama, the former president of Botswana, who said that a nation without a past is a lost nation, and a people without culture are those that have no soul. I think that contextualizes exactly what I'm going to be saying here today. Because when it comes to culture, then that is something that is, it happens in every part of the world. Everybody has culture. So that's me there. My presentation sort of outlined what I'm going to say over the next 30 minutes. Are all listed there. I'll look at the cultural significance and give it an overview, and then think about the cities of culture, and look at Coventry from a historical perspective, benefits gained from our world of city of cultures, look at Igbo culture, and then home in on the actual thing about Igbo culture within the city of culture, and then I'll sort of highlight what we call the annual festival, New Year Festival, which of course you're going to have tonight, and then make a recommendation about projects that you actually need to be carrying out to make yourself relevant within the context. Although I'm from Wolverhampton, I'm not part of the sort of Cape Coventry, so to say, but I belong to the Greater Midlands, and I have some information which I thought probably could be useful to you. And then think about funding opportunities, because if you have projects, you definitely need funding to be able to go with it. And then I can give you a few video clips highlighting the achievement of the Igbos globally. I hope that satisfactorily or in a way captures what you are expecting to hear today. First of all, I have to say congratulations once again to Igbo community, Coventry, or rather to the Coventry, city of Coventry, for giving this award. There was stiff competition for it from many others, but you managed to clinch it. I don't know what you did, I mean the secret behind it. Yeah, so, you did very, very well, marvelously well. I mean everybody wants to be the city of culture, but there's only one that can be nominated and elected, and that's you. Other cities will be jealous about this. Then congratulations to the Igbo community in Coventry, who is going to be sharing the benefits associated with this award. I mean, in Igbo balance, sometimes they say, okay? No, yes. Just trying to explain. What it means is that if palm wine, which is what we use in our culture and drink, I mean, somebody has it in excess and they are several meters high. If it's full, then it will overflow for people who are at the ground to have their own share of it. Yeah? So that's the direct translation to it. So what I'm implying here is that the mere fact that the Igbo community is based in Coventry in a very big way, then whatever impacts on Coventry as a whole will indirectly impact on the Igbos, isn't it? And same as other communities. Nobody will be left out, because you are not all going to work together to be able to reap the benefit of what is going to come out from this. And it was a UK government minister, Andrew Dunlop, that did say the UK City of Culture competition is a fantastic opportunity for the winning city to really put itself on the map. And it went further to say that it's a unique opportunity to drive artistic innovation, bring in visitors, and boost regeneration and economic growth. Okay? Now, culture, as you can see a few photos that I'm showing you there. The one on the top left there is our dressing. I mean, the hat, the Igbos wear, many of us. Some of them are wearing, even the chair is wearing that today if you turn back and look at him, yes? And then, at the bottom right, there, you can see the traditional religion. Years ago, before Christianity came into our own society, there was something we were relying on. I mean, to intercede for us, to the gods, okay, before Christianity came into it. So, that's culture. So if we look at try and contextualize culture, it's the characteristics and knowledge of a particular group of people encompassing language, religion, their cuisine, social habits, music, and arts. So when you see all these, you have captured it in the way it's supposed to be, generically. And it was the Center for Advanced Research on Language Acquisition that goes a step further, defining culture as shared patterns of behaviors and interactions, cognitive constructs, and understanding that are learned by socialization. If one doesn't belong to a particular culture and you decide to get into that culture, meet the people, within a few years, you become part of it by socialization and then become part of that culture because you have learned what all the other people are doing. And then, by implication, you are part of it. And it's seen as the growth of a group identity fostered by social patterns unique to that group. For every human, all the 7 billion people on Earth today, we belong to different groups. We are the same human beings, but we have different ways of behavior, different things we eat, different outfits we wear, etc. That's exactly what makes us who we are, and it distinguishes us from any other person. That's our culture, and you own it up and they say, this is me, this is my identity, my values, rituals, preferences, etc. So that captures all that. So in that sense, then, culture encompasses everything about religion, about food, what we wear, how we wear it, language, marriage, music, what we believe is right or wrong, how we sit at table, how we greet visitors, how we behave with loved ones, and a million other things. I think that's the reference to that is Christina de Rossi, the Southgate College in London. That's the person who gave that review. And that's correct. So if you think about everything we're saying here within that context, then you have captured what culture is all about. There are popular cultures around the world. You would have heard about Western culture, Eastern culture, Mid-Eastern culture, African culture, Latin culture. These have all existed, for a very, very long time. The Western culture, those of us who are here, we're used to it. We come from an African culture. So some of us are caught in between cultures. We don't even know where we belong anymore. And sometimes if you stay here for too long, you lose the one that you acquired from home. And then when you go back home, you become strange. Which is exactly why those of us who are here should continue to strive to keep that culture alive, keep it going, our norms, our traditions, bringing up our children. Everything that we need to be doing, we need to continue to do that. Otherwise, you forget it. You forget their language. Some people don't even know how to speak their language anymore because they have been here for years. So culture is something that has to be respected, and it's what makes us who we are and why we are. So all the pictures and things that you see side by side as you go are things that identify people with their different cultures. Thank you. UK cities of culture. Yeah. It's something that's pretty recent that we started talking about that. Because we knew about Liverpool being the European capital of the city of culture, but now UK cities of culture. What I showed you at the top left there is the symbolic for Liverpool when they were city of culture, and then Hull here as well, 2017. So some other people have been nominated as City of Culture prior to you. So you are going to take a cue from what they have done and what they have achieved within that period, and that can help you to also get to where they are. Winning UK Cities of Culture 2013, and that was Derry, London Derry in Ireland. Other people who contested within that period were Birmingham, Norwich, Sheffield. And date it was announced was 15th of July 2010. In 2017, it was Kingston upon Hull. And the other contestants were Dundee, Leicester, Swansea. And that was announced in 20th of November 2013. Now 2021, and that was Coventry. And other people who contested and shortlisted were Paisley, Stoke-on-Trent, Sunderland, Swansea, and the day that it was announced was about the 7th of December 2017. So now Coventry is taking a cue from these other people who have done it first, and then you have a long time between now, well, not too long, between now and the next 4 years, thereabout, to express yourselves and make it real, make it happen, so that you will recognize all roads will be leading to Coventry when this happens. It's going to change the life of the people. Now, previously, European City of Culture was Liverpool in 2008, and look at the sort of impact that was made on Liverpool. That will give you an idea of the sort of impact that we made in your city when by 2021. So you should have target, you should have what you are aiming to be able to achieve within that period. Social, economic, and cultural impact showed that the festival saw 9.7 million visitors to the city, an increase of about 34%, generated about £753 million for them. This is excellent. Media coverage of Liverpool cultural attractions doubled, and for the first time in decades, positive stories outweighed negative ones. And I think probably when you go to places like the City of Culture, probably it has had a difficult past. But what is now going to happen is a regeneration and a transformation of that city to become something else. And they look at their history and see how you can use that history to improve. If 5% of Liverpool residents agree that it was a better place to live than before, and richer picture of the city as a modern, multifaceted place with vibrant cultural life that reaches far beyond music and football, Liverpool Football Club, Everton, etc. Well, the cultural impact now moved them forward beyond what it was before. And you can see the giant spider, which was sort of their symbol, and the people who were there when eventually they celebrated. So this is the expectation for Coventry when they now arrive in that journey, and then what they are going to be achieving. So this is still all about what happened to Liverpool. So you'll be taking a cue from all that. Now let's look at Coventry now. This is more of what we're interested in today. I mean, Coventry has a history. Everybody, I mean, even while I was still in Nigeria, I knew about Coventry. A city, a metropolitan borough in West Midlands and historically part of Warwickshire. The 9th largest city in England and the 12th largest in the United Kingdom. The 2nd largest city in the West Midlands region after Birmingham with a population of about 345,000. And then I'm sure probably slightly more than that by 2017. The history for Coventry probably is instrumental to what has made Coventry, for them to have won this very prestigious award of City of Culture. The background, Hazel O'Connor, and all the other people. Coventry Museum has a automotive collection, and the home of industry, Coventry. National Motorcycle Museum, and motor companies have contributed significantly to British motor industry. And the growth of the industry has gone on from 1918 to about 1939. That's the growth of the motor industry, and manufactured and built in Coventry. And then silk materials. So Coventry is a place that, from origin, has been very well known internationally for what they have achieved. So you need to look at the past in order to be able to sort of move forward to the future. I mean, the automotive industry, there are times we have vehicles like this, but the country, the city should really be proud to be associated with this sort of developments that have taken place. Now, what are the benefits that can be gained from being part of the City of Culture? What are those benefits? Why is it relevant? Why is it important for you? Why is it significant for you? Increasing tourism and influx of visitors, as I said before, all roads lead to here, from not only from the UK, from Europe, and from the rest of the world, because it means a lot, especially for sociologists, anthropologists, archaeologists. Everybody would like to come here and see why, and appreciate, the justification for electing this as a City of Culture. Increased government funding, of course, sometimes it could be up to triple whatever funding you used to get. So money will be thrown at you sometimes. So it's for you to seize the opportunity of grabbing it, because the Ministry of Culture and in the UK will be sort of saying, well, okay, since we have elected them, as the City of Culture, we need to use it as a prototype, as a place that we can show off to the whole world what we're able to achieve. And raise profile of the city to change, improve the economic boost, creation of new jobs, increased number of cultural events, new corporate investments for businesses, banks, public houses, theaters, cinemas, opportunity to host a world-class event in 2021. A very brief look at African culture. African culture is massive, it's awesome. That is where life started. Everything all started from Africa, very, very rich. So, Nigeria is part of Africa, and about the most populous country in Africa, and there are about 300 tribes and ethnic groups within the country. How diverse are the cultures? It looks like everybody came from different parts of the world and assembled in Nigeria with different interests and different things that they do, things that express themselves, and they speak different languages. So there is nothing that unites our country together in terms of language. Everybody's speaking their own, which is amazing, it's unbelievable. Now, Igbo culture cuts across states in Nigeria. There are 36 states in Nigeria, but the Igbos are located in Imo State. Of course, I put Imo State there because I'm from there. Anambra State, Abia, Enugu, Ebonyi, Delta. So people in all these states speak Igbo. And we have a central Igbo that captures everything we do. We understand each other, a common culture. And then looking at the map there, this map, we're here. The southeastern part, very, very small area here, highly densely populated, but making the most impact in the whole country. We are very, very well known. Our Igbos are very intelligent, they are very resourceful, they are, they make things happen wherever they are. Wherever they go, you notice, you know they are there. And they say, if you went to any continent and you don't see any Igbo there, you better run away, because it's not a place that is habitable. We do convert environments from lifeless to make it lively. So wherever we are, we make that impact. So we are proud of ourselves. Igbo kwenu. Now, outside Nigeria, Igbos in the UK, they are spread out all around the major cities in the UK. London, Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle upon Tyne, Edinburgh, Leeds, Glasgow, Coventry, Southampton, Belfast. There are places that I may not have mentioned, but the Igbos are there everywhere. They move on, they go to places where they can express themselves and their identity, and by the time you know, they are flourishing. Igbo culture in the City of Culture. You can see all the colors, all the things that make us who we are. So, What will the Igbo community in Coventry be doing to identify with this new city of culture? I think this is the core of this presentation. Yeah? It is to highlight Igbo cultural identity substantially and significantly. Don't allow this to be a missed opportunity. And you're not going to do that on your own. You are going to do that with other Igbos in the region, other Igbos within the country. We are everywhere. So if you try and do it on your own, it will be too heavy for you to manage. Seek help. Acquire government funding to popularize Igbo culture. You need the funding to help you to popularize Igbo culture. The culture is already there, but it's just to disseminate it, make it relevant, contextualize it, make people appreciate us and what we do. Promote the teaching of Igbo language lessons, norms and traditions. Of course, in Nigeria we know tradition, we know the values, we know the norms, etc. Do's and don't do, what you ought to be doing and what you should be doing. But here where we are, many of our children are not doing that anymore. So what are parents doing? Why won't you be able to sort of inculcate that attitude of saying, respect your elders? When people come into the room, stand up for elders to sit down. Or when you wake up in the morning, you say, good morning, Ebola, Itela, those sort of things. Why don't we teach our children to be able to do this? I think it's just because of the mixture of Western culture and then the Igbo culture. It's mixed and we're now confused, and our children think that this is where they are. You cannot forget their roots. You mustn't forget what you ought to be doing, because we were all brought up that way. Promote the teaching Igbo language lessons. Establish Igbo Community Center in Coventry, which should serve as a symbol and rallying point for Igbos in the region. Those of us in Birmingham, ICAM, the Igbo Community Association in the Midlands, we are making the effort to set up a center for Igbo, so that we can have people, all our people, gathered there as a rallying point where we can express ourselves all the time. Something for us. When you look at all the other ethnic groups like the Indians and Pakistanis and some of them, they have places. We don't do that. We ought to do it. This is the opportunity you have. Reach out to other Igbos within the region and indeed across the country to build a critical mass and make a huge impact. I will dare say that we have these stakeholders, the Igbo stakeholders in the UK. Igbo Community Association in the Midlands, which Coventry is almost a subset of it. Igbo Progressive Union in Birmingham. Ogbako Ndi Igbo, which is sort of an umbrella that captures all the Igbo associations in the UK. Ohanese, which is also making its impact and has its own objective. CIC, Council of Igbo Communities, that are all there, all making that impact. So, reach out to all this. Don't do all this in isolation. You've got to work with other people. Number two, attract the attention of the Nigerian government, and especially Igbo state governments, to embrace this new opportunity. Tell them there that you need their help to make this a reality, that this is an opportunity you have on which you want to sort of exploit. Otherwise you miss it completely. Sometimes they throw money around over there. I mean, this is a good purpose. They can use it. Set up a functional website for Facebook to serve as a way to disseminate Igbo activities, events, and information through knowledge. Critical. Technology is going to help you to be able to achieve this. Special attention to our young ones and the future generation. This is paramount, because if you don't do that, the children will be lost completely. I am one of the people to be blamed. I have 3 children, and somehow we were being misguided there, and we weren't teaching the Igbo language. Shame on us. You must do that. Teach your children the Igbo language from how small. Other people do it. If you're only doing it, start today. Very important. Involve high-profile Igbos in the UK. Yeah, I mean high-profile Igbos in the UK. People who have achieved. MPs, we have them. Members of Parliament, mayors, councillors. These are the people that are stakeholders that will also come and help you to achieve this, and then spread the message about who we are. Organize annual EYG Igbo Day Festival, where you can showcase significance of kola nut, EYG, which we are going to do tonight, fashion show ceremonies, traditional dancing, masquerade, marriage ceremony. These are all the things that make our culture very rich. Try and make sure you exploit all this. And they teach the younger ones tradition, Igbo societal values, customs, culture, and traditions of family life. This is like one of our chiefs trying to herald the new year. We have a planting season and we have a harvesting season. So on this occasion, we celebrate it because yam is a staple food of the Igbos and many others. So we must make sure we publicize it and tell people what it is. We pound it, we fry it, we boil it, we do everything with yam. So that's why it's so significant and important to us. I don't think we have so much time because, I would have shown you, a video here which gives you an idea what we do, because, but these are the links. Probably I'll leave them behind with you so that you can appreciate. Display of Igbo fashion. Very rich, colorful, from time many, many years ago. Those ones are how people dressed, and later on, that's modern times, we start having different types of dressing. Many of them are in here today. Their dressing is all here. It's evident. Okay? The very young ones, outfits, dressing, and we have our masquerade dancing, which is all part of the Yam Festival. So you have them all here. That's a drummer. These are excellent dancers who are performing acrobatic skills. And then we have them all the beads and all the things they are wearing. And this is, of course, a major masquerade. This is a masquerade here. And you can see all that. And about our religion, this is Mbari House, where you can have all the artifacts that our forefathers had. Well, if there is God, somehow our people believe that there is somebody who intercedes on your behalf. Because we don't see God. So you go through an intermediary to help. So that's the belief before Christianity. And that's it. The red cap chiefs. You can see the chief of Samuel is wearing his hat there. That's them. It's characteristic of that. I'm wearing one, although I'm not a title holder as well. And then you come to food, very rich delicacies. The one here, this is ofo. You have heard about, you cannot really eat ofo except you have a lot of money. Yes, of course. Yeah? And then you have ofo here. And then here, you have abacha. And then here, you have yam porridge. And then here, you have, I think it's a pepper soup, ofoha, yeah? And then you have fish and yam, opa, yeah? Yeah? And then this is opa, yeah?
Breadfruit.
Okay, breadfruit, yes? and then palm wine. So what I was saying to you earlier on, Mr. Mayor and Lady Mayor, is that this guy who has palm wine over here, he is having a drink there. But when he has had so much and then there's nothing even there, he can flow down for the person down there. Projects for you. Igbo language, through norms, through values, through tradition. Lessons, essential to organize Igbo language lessons. That is very, very important. Don't forget about that. And then funding will be necessary for you to do this because you can't do it empty-handed. Go through Mr. Mayor, go through the council, go through the government, and they can give you money to be able to do this because it's what we are doing, all that. Proposal for Igbo Language Center is another project that will cost a lot of money. If you want to showcase your community center in 2021, if it's feasible, no matter how small it is, this is us. If you go to Liverpool, they have a massive house for the Igbos. But even if you have a small place, and then you sort of show off things that we have, so that people can come and see what you are doing there, that would be worthwhile. Put in restaurants there. I mean, where you show dressing codes, dress codes for young and old, women and men, display music, culture, and then also provide and attract attention for very young people to the city. Overview of sources of funding, I've gone as far as trying to help you to show where you can get some money. Okay? From central government, Department of Culture, Media and Sports, regional distributed central government funding, lottery, grant making trust, European funding, these are all available. Before the Brexit, I think you better grab some money from Europe. Right. I think it might be worthwhile. I mean, do you have internet? I think it might be worthwhile to show one or two things here for you. How are we doing with time? Do we have a few minutes? A few minutes, okay. Skip the ad. Do you have any, can this speak?
Igbo area. 10 Igbo legends that have put the tribe well high on the map.
Journey towards becoming that great city of culture work. Think about us, the Igbos. Don't miss the opportunity of activities of it, because you are a subset of people in Coventry, and all the other cultural and ethnic groups are also all part of it. So use that opportunity to express us, identify us, and bring us out to prominence as much as we can, and then call us whenever you want, and we'll be as helpful as we can. Thank you very much.
Please put your hands together for Professor. I would want to
Can we all stand as a major league?
very much. Thank you. We are very, very grateful. And I will give some time to you for questions. If you have any questions, if you please just raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2. Okay. Dr. Ibu, the question.
If you don't mind, I have 2 questions. The first question is, why do we celebrate the Yam Festival and not other staple foods that are indeed more common and more useful to our society? Yes, the second question is, we have, over the years, we have observed different immigrant communities in the UK have different rates of acculturation. The question is, do we have anything to account for that? And is there any advantage for people who get acculturated earlier than others?
Thank you very much. Very good questions. About yeah, as I lived in Nigeria for about 25 to 30 years before I came in here. And I have always heard about yam and then its significance. And I tell you, to be very honest, it appears to be the most staple of all our foods that many people like to eat. I know rice and beans and all the other ones are there, vegetables, etc. But which type of our food, I mean, which type of our cuisine don't you find yam? I mean, people fry it, they boil it, they cook it, they put it in different forms, and then and it's satisfying. It's a staple food, actually. And when you go to a chief in a place or somebody who is a farmer, you see bands and bands of yam that are taken here. You don't do that for cocoyam or for some of the other ones. So because it's so important, this is my own thinking. I don't know whether that's the right interpretation. Whatever is significant and important and staple for you to use, you must really try as much as possible to make sure it flourishes more and more. Without yam out there, tell us what else, I mean, that we could be reliant on as much. I don't know. Maybe Chief Pastor Morgan might be able to say something about that, if he wants to say something about, to expatiate on that a little bit. And then talking about our culturalization, I mean, are you saying us adopting the English culture? Is that what you mean?
That's right.
Yeah, adopting the English culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Compare us to the Asian.
Yeah.
We tend to adopt this language faster than the Asians. Are we getting any advantage from doing that?
Okay, that's adopting the English language faster.
That's right.
Yeah.
Why is it so, and are we getting any advantage, or is there any advantage?
Okay, I mean, yes, from that context, really, I mean, what I look at about this is that when you go to Rome, you do like the Romans, isn't it? Yeah?
That's correct.
In a way. If you want to integrate in the society, you really want to be able to start doing things the way they do their things. Otherwise, you continue to be a stranger or a foreigner within the society. But I think the point I understand you're making there is not to adopt it to the exclusion of your own culture in a way. That is, imbibe the English culture and they speak their language without promoting ours. The other people are still reliant on theirs. They speak even the very, very little ones. I mean, from ethnic minorities, Indians and all that, speak their language. Okay? And so they put more emphasis on them. But us, we want to integrate in a way. I mean, it's a philosophical question there. It all depends. I don't know whether, Professor Mozo can throw in more of that. I don't know what would we prefer to do? Is it to sort of be slow in adopting their culture and language? Is that whether that would be a better thing? I'm not sure. Yeah. I don't know whether you have it.
It's something where, I wonder whether he wants to say anything. It's something where we have observed.
Yeah.
And in fact, the slower groups like the Asians, they tend to do better than we that actually get into this culture very fast. We jump into it practically. Overall, they still do better, even to understand what happens here, even to make use of what is available here.
I think it's probably more than what you are saying. I mean, the Asians and the other people, how do they really integrate among themselves? And then how do they come together to achieve objectives? And then for us here, are we united again to be able to do things together? For them, they are brothers keeper, they help each other, etc. But I don't know about we, the Igbos, do we do exactly the same thing?
Say what? Yeah. There is something in Igbo which says, Ibranu Nkina Wana. When you self-destruct your identity, your elevation in the minds of independent people fall dramatically. You are seen as an ape, a man totally without an identity, and nobody is looking for anything peculiarly yours. Secondly, when you can think in different languages, your auto-thinking process is faster. Your diversity is mirrored. I mean, if I told a child here, if I have a halo, and he doesn't understand what it is, it will not shock his imagination. It will not restrain him when there is a tendency to commit halo. To be incestuous is halo in our place. And as we are brought up, we are told this is unimaginable. If you do it, you are inhuman. You are not a human being. You're almost like an animal. And so that upbringing shocks your imagination towards those tendencies. It implants in you, it's part of you, part of your culture. When Professor was talking about respect, I go to church now, and I see old men walking with walking stick, very late at service. And I see young people, no one is prepared to get up from the seat. I've gotten up 4 times at a function because I got up for people older than me or who were invalids. And because of my visibly, but not actually, exalted position. A number of people felt, oh, I shouldn't have gotten up, I better give it my seat. They would rather respect the position I hold than the age of those people. Now, so those people you think are succeeding have kept tenaciously to their values. They are respected for those values because the values describe them. We are the most traveled and the most industrial people in the world that I have seen. In my native Ukeke, we say that golo golo when nechien. Golo golo in Ukeke means cleverness, and where is monkey. When I did a little of gaming, I found that the most difficult animal to catch at gaming is the monkey. His sense of perception is so sharp that before you finish aiming and pulling the trigger, he's already left your target of focus. This is how the Igbo man is. If you go to all parts of Nigeria, there is no part of Nigeria where the dominant group, other than the group indigenous to the area, is not the Igbo. Igbos live in their shades. There can be 10 people living in one room. And they don't complain of the inconvenience until they realize the objective. Their ambition, their vivacity, their industriousness, their tenacity, their resilience, their endurance is inestimable. Perhaps they are loud in achievement. Everybody has some kind of negative. You can't be positive all around. And sometimes they boast to their host community to the point of inviting their anger and rejection. So it is in our interest that we begin to cultivate our culture, advertise it, and be proud about it, because it defines who we are. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll have a second question, or if that is it, okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay. I remember I was with the... Okay, your question, please.
It was mentioned during the last question, during your answer, and I think it's important to be pushed forward again. The ominous problem of unity. For example, there's been complaints of people, the gossip within the Igbo community, of people not liking people from other states. For example, someone not liking someone who's from Abia State, or me not liking someone who's from Ebonyi State. How high on your priority list is that, and how much of a blockade do you think that could be to our further progression?
Yeah, thank you very much. A very good question. I think, that's a young man there who is asking a very pertinent question. It's important that we do this. The problem is that where we come from, the Igbo people, sometimes they say Igbo ways, meaning that we don't respect kings and all that. That should not always be, we have to change that. We should indeed try and respect, and then show respect for people and all that. And then talking about somebody from Abia doesn't like, that's a terrible thing for it to happen, because we are all Igbos, but because of states, Abia, Imo, Anambra doesn't make any difference. Because within those areas, it's the Igbos that are living there. Why would anybody? Is that because of competition? Because sometimes we compete with each other, because there are very many intelligent people within our own areas. And they are always in competition with each other. That's the only thing that can bring it. Otherwise, we are one and the same people. And then while we are here, we should continue to talk about how we can, etc. But here, we have everybody wants to be in charge, or a king. Like all the things that I mentioned here during the course of the lecture, I mentioned Obakondibo, or Hanese, CIC, etc. Everybody wants to be nicknamed, or named as the person who is in charge. Yes, we never want to come together. But that's different from the Yorubas. Whenever it comes to the crunch, they all sort of link up and then do it. So that's an issue. Thank you very much for mentioning that very point. There shouldn't be any sort of hatred or disagreement among us. You can do that, we are humans. But because that we are Igbos, we shouldn't disrespect anybody. We shouldn't. Definitely not. Yeah?
Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Unfortunately, we can't take further questions so that we can take the other lecture. You and I, if you have been, okay, we want to take the second lecture, but before we do that, I want to give you like 10 minutes, 5 minutes break for people who want to eat themselves. So please do so. We will come back here at exactly, say 4:15 for the second lecture.
Let me start by saying the fact that Saraki defected and all that is happening in the Senate is not a story you would have heard. So many things have been said about politics of no ideology. I know you would have heard. The fact that hundreds are killed in Taraba, Benue, Zamfara, of course Enugu, is no story. I'm sure you would have heard. Time will fail me to mention Operation Ugweke and Python Dance. It's no story you would have heard. The fact that all the security apparatus in Nigeria is located in one section of the state, Nigeria, is no story you would have heard. Nigeria is believed to be divided more than it has ever been today. I believe we are stakeholders, and I believe that we have people who are part of the electorate in Nigeria, and we believe that sometimes people that are actually in Nigeria sometimes look up to people who are here, who finance them for information. How can we inform them if we are not well informed? A few years back, the UK was not talking about Brexit because we were in Europe and we were happy. But people thought being outside Europe would be better. Today, we're talking about deal or no deal, or bad deal. In fact, as we speak, there are people trying to see if they can have a second referendum to say, we don't want to go anymore. So, the issue of the federative unit in Nigeria and the structure we have, is it what it ought to be? We ought to be informed. And I want to assure you that it's paramount because we spend a lot of money in Nigeria. I'm not bragging, but in the last 1 or 2 months, at least, if I have not spent money in Nigeria, I've spent close to 1.5 billion naira. So we are stakeholders. We should be involved. We shouldn't let it be. If you have not lost anybody, there are people who have lost their breadwinners. So we thought it wise to bring somebody who we think will do justice and give us the information we need. We have in our midst today Chief John Nyawodo Jr. He's a lawyer, an economist. Time will fail me to outline all his qualifications because there are so many. You know, there are some profiles you see, then you're humble. Do you understand what I'm saying? I remember when my brother, who was a banker then, he said he didn't like Falae. I said, why don't you like the former secretary of the federal government? He said, I don't like the way his eyes look. But when Falae was appointed secretary, we were watching television that day when they started, introducing Falae. When I looked at my brother, I saw he was shedding tears. Then the case began. I never knew this man was this red, this educated. And I have despised him even without knowing him. There are profiles you see, you're humbled. As I was looking at the profile of Nyawodo Jr., my heart sank. At the age of 28, he was already a special advisor to the president of Nigeria. Chief Secretary, yes. He has served in several ministerial positions. One-time Minister of Civil Aviation, and today the President General. To be honest with you, I have a long list that time will fail me to read out. I will just summarize it by saying, when I read the profile, I was humbled. I knew that there is something to look up to, and I was rejoicing that I will have an opportunity to listen to him today. You and I are privileged today. Please put your hands together.
You know, one of the most difficult things about speaking in Nigeria is that you start with a long retinue of protocols.
I don't have this, I must confess, but I cannot but acknowledge Professor Philip Chike Odwoza for the wonderful speech that he gave us here. Very illuminating, very concise, well researched. And I believe for the young people here it will be quite stimulating. And you probably find me boring because I'm going to deal with very strong political issues which may be difficult for some of you to understand. Second thing I want to say by way of protocol is to thank the Igbo community in Coventry for the very hard work that you're doing to come together, to promote our ideals, and to hold events of this nature that crystallize our essence and our relevance to the trending issues of our times. I want to tell you that if you do not have a house full of the 300 or more Igbos in Coventry here, as well as other Nigerians you may have invited, do not in any way be dispirited. Leon Trotsky and 3 people started the Red Army that metamorphosed into the Bolshevik Revolution and changed the face of Russia. You know that as we are here, apart from God, our very being was conceived by the conjecture of our parents in a very quiet and lonely environment. But they produce who we are. So every great idea is born in solitude, in quiet contemplation, and devoid of street noise and distractions of those who do not use the mind. I believe that those who are here are those who want to use their mind. And it doesn't matter how few we are, but we must delve into the issues that we've come to talk about. In 1960, Nigeria attained sovereign independence from Great Britain and became an independent country. By a progressive development of several constitutions, culminating in a London conference, the 3 regions created by the Macpherson Constitution of 1951 emerged on the Nigeria Constitution Order in Council of 1960. This independence constitution retained the regional setup and made several provisions for separate constitutions for each region in Nigeria. Powers were shared between the federal government and regional governments. The powers of the federal government were set out in the exclusive legislative list consisting of 44 subjects that included principally defense, currency, external affairs, mines and power, Lagos affairs, and customs. There was a concurrent list of 28 subjects on which both the federal and regional governments had competence. The residual powers were reserved to the regions on subjects not listed in the exclusive legislative list. In other words, you had 4 lists. You had the exclusive legislative list, you had the concurrent legislative list, and you had the exclusive
the residual legislative list. That's 3 sections. By the adoption of the Federal Constitution of 1960, Nigeria chose a federal system of government. Judge Anderson, in his work on federalism, an introduction, lists 5 characteristics common to all federations. They include 1, at least 2 orders of government, one for the whole country, another one for the region. Each government has a direct electoral relationship with its citizens. Second characteristic, a written constitution, some parts of which cannot be amended by the federal government alone. Third, a constitution that formally allocates legislative, including fiscal powers, to the 2 orders of government, ensuring some genuine autonomy for each order. 3, usually special arrangements, notably in the upper houses, for the representation of the constituent units in key central institutions to provide for regional input into the central decision making. 5, an umpire, usually involving courts, but sometimes referendums or an upper house, to rule on constitutional disputes between the federal and regional governments. Finally, a set of processes and institutions for facilitating or conducting relations between governments. In conclusion, Judge Anderson stated that if there is an essence of federalism, it is that there are 2 constitutionally established orders of government with some genuine autonomy for each order, and the governments at each level are primarily accountable to their respective electorates. Now, what am I trying to describe? When we gained independence from Nigeria, we had a federal constitution. And I told you what Judge Anderson describes as a federal constitution. 2 autonomous governments, regions and federal governments, with the regions delegating some of their powers to the federal government, but having exclusive autonomy on the issues that are their responsibility. And how did it work in Nigeria? The way it worked in Nigeria was that each area had its own native police, each area had its own customary court, its own high court, and its own Supreme Court. Each area, so in my generation, when we went to school, we didn't go to federal government secondary schools. There were none, so there was nothing like quota. You had to sit for entrance exam, and if you pass, you pass. You went to primary schools around your vicinity, and the public schools were as, in fact, they had more standards, better standards than the private schools. And then you went to universities of your choice in Nigeria by passing entrance exam into those universities. And each university had its own set of standards. I give you a typical example. I started my primary school in a suburban area of Enugu called Iva Valley. It still remains a rural area. And my parents wanted me to go there because there was a priest who was in charge of St. Patrick's Iva Valley, who was then called Father Michael Eneja, who later became Bishop Michael Eneja. May his soul rest in peace. Bishop Michael was noted for his puritanism, his spirituality, and his sense of discipline. And so my parents felt that in his tutelage, we will acquire some of his virtues. But guess what? My classmates, in my first, we started with Infant 1, Infant 2, Standard 1, up to 6. So you had 7 years in primary school. But I got out on the 6th year in Standard 5. And my training was so good that I competed with those in Standard 6. I was able to get entrance examination into a reputable school called CIC by beating those who were my seniors. So my parents were not entirely wrong in their judgment. But guess what? My classmate in St. Patrick's Iva Valley was a young man called Peter Enejere. Peter Enejere was the junior brother of James Enejere, who was my father's driver. So there was no school for the driver's son and another school for the minister's son. My father was a member of Eastern Nigerian House of Assembly and parliamentary secretary for health, at that time what you would call a junior minister. But I went to the same school with his driver's junior brother. Now, in secondary school, I went to CIC. It was a highly competitive entrance examination. We went to the college campus to write our examination. And we did the written examination from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We examined in English language and general studies in one paper and in mathematics in the second paper. The results were announced before 3 o'clock and we started the oral interview. There was no opportunity for your father to talk to the principal. You either passed or you failed. In my class were 2 recipients of my father's scholarship, Sylvester and Gregory. They beat me in mathematics, in physics, in chemistry, and biology. I beat them in English language, English literature, Bible knowledge, history. I beat them in what you will call subjective subjects, and they beat me in objective subjects. In mathematics, you either scored 100% or 0. You either got it right or you didn't. And the examiner's subjective considerations about your writing or how did not matter once you got the equations correct and the answer correct. Now, in the areas that I beat them, it was a matter of my presentation, my organization, my knowledge of the subject matter, my recognition of the important points in the subject matter, and my conclusion interrelating the subject matters that I described to the question. Now, sometimes when the examiner is reading, he gets bored. Sometimes his wife gets him angry. Sometimes he gets a phone call. And so whatever assessment he gave me was subjective, like the subject. It turned out that Sylvester and Gregory, in our positions in class, were always beating me. The best I could make was 5th or 4th, but they were always 1st or 2nd or 3rd. And my father gave me a very big knock on the head. And as he put it in Igbo, Ige Mesie, Ndi na-aza Msa, Izaba Fasa. Those whose fathers defer to me, you will, in your generation, defer to their children, because you have not acquired anything from me. The words obstinate, cantankerous, insubordinate, daft, stupid, idiot were used on me. I'm only characterizing the federal structure there and how it promoted it. I went to the University of Ibadan. I took entrance exam in a place called Aba. There was no center in Enugu where I lived. And our results were published in Daily Times, in order of merit, not in alphabetical order. I went to Ibadan University and I dared to contest election as president of Students' Union in a Yoruba-dominated university. And at the end of the Nigerian Civil War, in 1970-71 session. And I won. Because a number of Yorubas were detribalized. They were not interested. The Yorubas are a very, how do I say, obeying and culturally civilized community. They were not interested in where you come from. They were interested in what you had to offer. And so when I spoke and Deborah spoke, they clearly chose me. The women folk in the student body were not as civilized as the core Yoruba. The women were more interested in the looks of the candidates. Somehow, forgive my vanity, but it looked like I was more. So this was the arrangement we had. The first oil well that Nigeria had was in a place called Oloibiri in what is now Bayelsa State. It was commissioned by my father as Minister of Commerce and Industry for Eastern Nigeria. It was in the concurrent legislative list. In other words, the state government could invest in mineral resources just as the federal government could invest. What was different was how the profit was shared. And I'll explain to you as I go on through this lecture about how it was done and how we want to do it. Nigeria's federal constitutional arrangement transformed into a federal republic with the translation of the Governor General to President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces in 1963. Nigeria's federal system of government lasted from 1960 to 1966, when the military took over power and promulgated what they called the Unification Decree No. 34, which set aside regional arrangements and created a unified civil service structure for the whole country. Whereas the First Republic failed politically, it succeeded economically. The First Republic witnessed continuous crises of ethnic tensions and struggle for control of the federal government.
the implosion of the action group, and the violence that attended it in Western region, the census crisis, and the general breakdown of law and order, which led to a military coup. But notwithstanding these political upheavals, the regions laid strong economic foundations. In agriculture, massive growth of export was witnessed in the production of cotton and groundnuts in northern Nigeria, cocoa in western Nigeria, palm produce in eastern Nigeria, and rubber in Midwest Nigeria. New universities were built in Zaria, Lagos, Ibadan, and Nsukka. When I went to school, the first faculty for architecture in Nigeria was in Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria. If you wanted to be an architect in a Nigerian university, I'm sure, Professor, you remember, you would prefer to go to Ahmadu Bello. If you wanted to read medicine, you would prefer to go to Ibadan. It had the best teaching hospital at that time. If you wanted to read engineering and the humanities, you would prefer to go to Nsukka. This was how it was in those days. If you wanted to read law, you wanted to go to University of Lagos. That was where the Professor Nwabwezes of the time moved from teaching in University of London to going to teach in University of Lagos. Now, we had import substitution industries in eastern Nigeria, for instance. We had the first iron and steel complex in the whole of Black Africa, MNI Iron and Steel Factory. We had the second cement factory in the whole of Nigeria built there. The first was built by the British. The second was built by Oparas regional government in Okada. We had the second beer brewery built in Umuahia for Golden Guinea. The first built by Nigerian breweries in Lagos. We had the first roofing sheet industry, the MNA roofing sheet industry. We had the first and only pottery built by a government complex where we manufactured breakable plates that were exported out of the country. That is a bush today, and totally unrecognizable. We had power generated from coal, and we had this mechanical movement of coal from Iva Valley to Oji River, propelled by some kind of mechanical rail system by which buckets of coal were transported, in a rail system, although it was an aerial rail, not a land rail. And as children, I saw them as we drove back to the village. I saw them overhead, higher than the electric poles, going gradually to Oji River. And power was generated in Oji River. But that place is a completely abandoned area today. So we had import substitution industries growing all over the place. It included textile industries in the West, which they developed from their cotton, agricultural produce. As I said, breweries, iron and steel complexes, cement factories, building material industries, marble production industries, tire manufacturing industries. In infrastructure, new and strong roads were built by the regions. Railway lines were up and running and efficient. Power was generated from locally mined coal. Many Nigerian youths gained scholarships to study in Europe and America. Today, there's nothing like scholarship in Nigeria. When I went to Ibadan University, I had 2 scholarships. I had East Central State Scholarship. The second one was Students' Loan Award. The government gave you a loan to study, and it only required you to work for government for 2 years when you came out. Nobody even insisted on that when we came out. So it was really never to be implemented. Today, it doesn't exist anymore. The essence of these scholarships was that the children of the less privileged, who were gifted, had opportunity to attain their potentialities. It doesn't happen anymore. I know how much it costs you to put your children in school here. It is almost your entire savings plus loans. Worse for us who are in Nigeria, who have children abroad. We virtually, those in my generation, sell their assets to do so. There's no other way to do so. Now, between 1966 and 1979, the Nigerian Armed Forces dominated the rulership of Nigeria and entrenched military system of governance in Nigeria. Between 1967 and 1970, Nigeria was at war, and issues of forms of government took a backseat until death. The Arab-Israeli war intensified. Its effect on the consolidation of unitary system of governance in Nigeria was captured by Ambassador Humphrey Ojiako in his book, Nigeria, the Forsaken Road to Nationhood and Development, where he wrote, and I quote, "The impact was immediate, profound, and strategic. By the end of the war in March 1974, the price of crude oil had risen so abruptly from barely $3 per barrel to $12 per barrel. The sudden price hike put a lot of unexpected petrodollars in Nigeria's coffers, thus giving her relatively huge economic power all too quickly. As the country and her few privileged citizens basked in the new environment of greed and entitlement, the military ruling class tightened the noose of unitary governance with each section of the country. The further drift to unitary governance and the all-powerful control of government was clearly reflected in the progressive decline of the derivation principle in sharing national incomes between the federal government and the federating units from 100% in 1953. It means in 1953, if we had continued without the war in 1967, the Eastern Nigerian government would have had 100% of the resources or the gains it made from oil until 1964, when it changed to 50% and 45% in 1970. Derivation finally came to 20% in 1975 and ultimately in 1979 to 0% and now 13%. Every attempt to amend the Nigerian constitution by the Babangida administration in 1979, the Abacha government in 1993, and the Obasanjo government in 1999 ended in consolidation of the unitary system of government. President Jonathan's constitutional conference would have whittled down the all-powerful federal government had it been more courageous and enabled a debate and enactment of its resolutions in the national and state assemblies. Right now, we remain under a unitary system of government, even though we are called the Federation. The 1979 and 1999 constitutions by which we have been governed in all our civil democracies since 1979 are impositions of military governments. None of these constitutions were subjected to a plebiscite, yet they begin with "We the people of Nigeria." The Southern and Middle Belt Leadership Forum, of which Ohaneze is a member, and other well-meaning Nigerians have called for a new constitution which must restructure our constitutional framework and take us back to something similar to what we had in 1963. The proponents of restructuring insist that Nigeria must have 6 federating units or regions. 2, a separate constitution for the regions, defining the relationship between the regions and the states within them. 3, an exclusive legislative list for federating units, which will include, among others, 1, domestic security, establishment of state and regional police, sovereignty over oil and national resources. 3, a judicial system that gives exclusive jurisdiction for matters under the exclusive legislative states for the federating units and allows them to have high courts, courts of appeal, and Supreme Court at the level of the federating units. 4, education, save for issues of national standards and many other items. The reason the extra for restructuring is to 1, reduce the cost of governance, limit the retarding influence of ethnic conflicts and fear of domination in public administration. 3, unleash a spirit of healthy competition among federating units for optimal development of the country and unbundle the federal government. Now let us look at statistical evidence that made the argument for restructuring compelling. As I speak to you today, Nigeria's external debt has grown from $10.3 billion in 2015 to $15 billion in 2017, and added another $5.5 billion in 2018, increasing our total external debt to $20 billion at the end of 2017. As I was leaving, I listened to the news before I boarded the aircraft, and the debt management office says it has now come to 22.4 billion. Our domestic debt has grown from 8.8 trillion in 2015 to 14 trillion in 2017. Domestic debt component for the 36 states rose from 1.69 trillion naira in 2015 to 2.9 trillion naira in June 2017. The Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, PPPRA, announced on June 19, 2018, that the federal government's subsidy on fuel has risen to 2.4 billion naira daily from 774 million naira in March of 2018. The rise, according to them, is as a result of the high price of crude oil in the international market. Interestingly, whilst this huge expenditure is incurred, no provision of it has been made in our annual budget, nor has any reported increase been announced in our excess crude oil reserve account. The real situation is that we are running huge subsidy bills because our local refineries are not running at 100% of installed capacity and are unable to meet our domestic demand. Surprisingly, growth of new refineries capable of bridging the supply gap in the near future looks dim. One wonders why we can afford such drain from our national purse, which can guarantee loan for new refineries and resuscitate old ones, while we make a national sacrifice of higher petroleum prices for 2 years. Let me explain what I'm trying to say here. We have increased our subsidy for petrol imported into Nigeria from 774 million naira daily to 2.4 billion naira daily. In other words, every day our country spends 2.4 billion naira in order to make petrol affordable to the ordinary Nigerian. And we're the 7th largest country with crude oil reserves. And you wonder why it is necessary to waste such money. In Biafra, I was a soldier. In Biafra, we had blockage, economic blockage. There was no ship betting on any continental shelf close to Biafra. Every import was by air through Uri Airport. And in a day, the most that landed was 3 aircrafts. In a week, one of the aircrafts was blown to pieces in the air. In 10 days, the runway was damaged by bombing and was repaired within 24 hours. But we had ingenuity in Biafra. We made our own petrol. The crude oil was there. It was there in Oguta. It was there in Ekwema. And we could drill it with machines fabricated by our research and production units. And we were able to refine it. How did we do it? We made kilns made up of steel and surrounded by clay. You know what we call ajos in Igbo land, which we use to make clay blocks, which our forefathers used. It was used to insulate the steel in order to maximize the temperature of the crude oil when it is being boiled. And of all of you who read chemistry in your primary and in your secondary school would have come across what you call fractional distillation of petroleum. And at the various temperatures, it produced different products of fractional distillation, be they gas, be them diesel or petrol. Now, if we could do that in Biafra and power our armored vehicles, power our trailers, our buses and our cars, how can the giant of Africa, Nigeria, do this? First, they have rejected our research and production, human resources in Biafra, because we are not put in places where we can catalyze our reservoir of ingenuity into production of local refineries in Nigeria. If we could do it in Biafra, why do we not repeat it? Every province in Nigeria would have had a local refinery, and so it wouldn't need any of these important refineries that are assembled in our country. They are not doing that. All right, why don't we pay a higher price of petrol for 2 years and use the money that we are spending, 2.4 billion a day, mean, look, if we have 2.4 billion a day, we'll have the most bankable refineries in every geopolitical zone in Nigeria. And Nigerians knowing that in 18 months to 24 months, there will be 6 refineries in all geopolitical zones, they would live with it, wouldn't they? But nobody wants to think in government. So this is what we are having. Now, on the 7th of November last year, Moody's Investor Service downgraded Nigeria's sovereign issuers rating to B2, citing their rationale as the likely unsuccessful effort of the Nigerian authorities to increase non-oil revenue and persistent key structural weaknesses. Bill Gates said the same thing when he came to Nigeria. The federal government has on 2 occasions released bailout funds to enable states to meet their recurrent expenditure requirements. Only about 9 states in Nigeria, namely Lagos, Kano, Enugu, Edo, Delta, Abia, Rivers, Anambra, and Kwara, have their internally generated revenue sufficient enough to cover their interest repayment on their debts without depending on allocations from federal collected revenue. According to Budget Research, in its scale of ability to meet recurrent expenditure obligation rankings, only 4 states, namely Katsina, Kano, Rivers, and Lagos, have average monthly revenue in excess of average monthly recurrent expenditure. For the federal government, close to 40% of its annual revenue was spent on servicing of interest repayments, not the principal, interest repayments on debts. And according to International Monetary Fund, this percentage is expected to increase further. According to Fitch Ratings, Nigeria's government gross debts are 320% of its annual revenue, one of the highest in the world. Michael Kilukume, writing in Daily Trust, the Nigerian economy has grossly underperformed relative to her enormous resource endowment and her peer nations. It has the 6th largest gas reserves and the 8th largest crude oil reserves in the world. It is endowed in commercial quantities with about 37 solid mineral types and a population of over 170 million people. Yet, economic performance has been rather weak and does not reflect these environments. Compared with emerging Asian countries, notably Thailand, Malaysia, India, China, and Indonesia, that were behind Nigeria in terms of GDP per capita in 1970, these countries have transformed their economies and are not only miles ahead of Nigeria, but are also major players on the global economic arena. Current reports show that the economy of Nigeria increased 3.23% on quarter in the second quarter of 2017, recovering from a 13.3% contraction in the first quarter. GDP growth rate in Nigeria averaged 1.17% from 2010 until 2017, reaching an all-time high of 10.59% in the third quarter of 2010, and a record low of minus 13.98% in the first quarter of 2016. In the face of this economic reality, the Population Reference Bureau predicts that Nigeria will in 2050 become the world's largest population, 4th largest population, with a projected population of 397 million, coming after China, India, and the United States of America. These countries have varying levels of industrialization that are far away from Nigeria. And this deadline is only 33 years away. Now, a non-governmental organization in Vienna called World Poverty Club, founded by the German government and led by a man called Homi Haras, Deputy Director of the Brookings Institute in the United States, and Wolfgang Fengler, a World Bank head economist. This organization is predicting that Nigeria will overtake India as a country with one of the world's poorest people. They contend that, and I quote, by 2030, there will be 200 million fewer people in the world living in extreme poverty than there are today. In other words, the world will be progressing. However, 438 million, or 5% of the world's population, will still be below extreme poverty line. This year, for example, the extreme poverty level is rising in 30 countries. In these nations, a total of 9 million more people will be living in extreme poverty at the end of 2017 than 12 months previously, in the considered view of World Poverty Clock. Continuing, the World Poverty Clock holds that very few countries in Africa are making fast enough progress on ending poverty. And in 2 large countries, Nigeria and the Democratic Republic of Congo, their populations are growing faster than their economic growth. So poverty will likely continue to rise in these 2 countries. We need a dramatic break, therefore, for current trends in over 30 countries in order to end poverty worldwide. Nigeria's population in extreme poverty is rising today by 5.7 people per minute, and in the Democratic Republic of Congo by 3.6 people per minute. The situation in Nigeria is such that in February next year, it will overtake India as having the most people living in extreme poverty in the world at 82 million people. In 2011, 5 colonels of the United States Center for Strategy and Technology, Air War College, did a case study on Nigeria and the global consequences of its implosion, and came out with a conclusion that despite its best efforts, Nigeria has a long-term struggle ahead to remain a viable state, much less a top 20 economy. Faced with this grim economic outlook and a structure inimical to growth, what is therefore our way forward? Our growth model has to change for us to survive as a country. A model based on sharing of government revenue must give way to a new structure that will challenge and drive productivity in different regions across the country. This new model must take into account that factors driving productivity in today's world are no longer driven by fossil oil, rather by the profilation of knowledge-based economy. The restructuring of Nigeria into small and independent federating units and devolution of powers to these federating units to control exclusively their human capital development, mineral resources, agriculture, and power, albeit with an obligation to contribute to federal government, is the only way to salvage our fledgling economy. Restructuring will devote attention to the new wealth area, promote competition and productivity as the new federating units struggle to survive. It will drastically reduce corruption as the large federal parastatals which government revenue for little or no impact dissolve and give way to small and viable organs in the new federating units. Those campaigning against restructuring in Nigeria have painted an unfortunate and untrue picture that those of us in support of restructuring are doing so in order to deny northern states who have not yet any proven oil reserves of the ability to survive. This is unfortunate. The new model we propose for Nigeria recognizes that revenue in the world today is promoted by 2 main sources, namely human capital development, leveraging on technology to drive the critical sectors of the economy, and agriculture. 10 years ago, the top 10 companies in the world included the likes of ExxonMobil, Shell, and Total, all in the energy sector. Today, the top 8 companies in the world are represented by technology-related companies. They include Apple, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon. The example of Netherlands in agriculture is also relevant here. The Netherlands is the 18th largest economy in the world. It has a land area of about 33.9 thousand square kilometers. Niger State, one of Nigeria's 37 administrative units, if you include Abuja, has about 74,000 square kilometers, almost 1.5 times that of Netherlands. Netherlands has over 100 billion export earnings annually from agriculture, contributed mainly by vegetables and dairy. Nigeria's oil revenue has never in any one year reached the 100 billion target. Northern Nigeria is the most endowed agriculturally in Nigeria. Its tomatoes, carrots, cabbages, cucumbers, tubers, grains, livestock, and dairy feed the majority of Nigerians in spite of its huge reserve of unexploited export potentials. In a restructured Nigeria, northern Nigeria with the right agricultural policies will perhaps be the richest part of Nigeria. Our analysis here must be viewed from the background that late lines have been fixed by OECD countries and China for the cessation of the production of automobiles and machines dependent on fossil oil. They have said that between 2020 and 2024, they will not produce any more machines based on fossil oil. This development and the new technology for the production of shale oil in the United States have made world dependence on Nigeria's crude oil a rapidly declining phenomenon. Right now, the United States does not import 1 barrel of crude oil from Nigeria. In the last few years, our youths, reacting to this adverse economic situation that has made them destitute and totally without hope for a better future, have become increasingly restive. The politically conscious ones amongst them have evolved into self-determination groups, some of which include IPOB, MASOP, YEDICOM, Arewa Youth, Niger Delta Republic, Middle Belt Republic. Of these groups, IPOB and Boko Haram have been designated as terrorist organizations by the federal government. This development in relation to IPOB is unfortunate. Boko Haram is an armed organization which has attacked and occupied Nigerian territory, hoisted its flag and appointed local authority governors. It has abducted and abused Nigerian women, kidnapped and imprisoned many, and killed over 200,000 people. It is still involved in guerrilla warfare against Nigeria, yet the federal government is negotiating with them. No member of Boko Haram captured by the military was put on the trial until after my Chattanooga speech in September last year. Members of this federal government are on record for condemning the previous government for brutal murder of Boko Haram members and condemning the retired chief of army staff for zealous prosecution of anti-terror campaign. Members of the sect who confess to a change of mind have been received along with their abducted female partners in our presidency and rehabilitated into IDP camps. The declaration of IPOB as a terrorist organization is, in my view, horrid, unfair, and not in conformity with the intent of the law. Whereas I am not completely in agreement with some of the methods of IPOB, like its inappropriate and deficient broadcast. The uncontested evidence given by the Attorney General of the Federation in an interlocutory action claiming that IPOB attempted and or actually stole guns from law enforcement agents are, if proven, merely criminal offenses. They do not constitute enough evidence to meet international law definitions of a terrorist organization. Happily, the United States Embassy in Nigeria shares this conclusion and asserted that the United States government does not recognize IPOB as a terrorist organization. This same unarmed IPOB that is being stigmatized by the Nigerian government had its members murdered in Asaba, in Nkpor, in Aba, and in Port Harcourt, simply for having public demonstrations without the federal government ordering a judicial inquiry into these murders. Instead, after I called for one, and Amnesty International gave evidence that 150 of them were killed, the Chief of Army Staff set up an inquiry composed of 7 and retired members of the armed forces, thereby compromising the rules of natural justice, which prescribes that you cannot be a judge in your own court. The of IPOB is unfair, discriminatory, and an overkill. They see the move as an attempt to encourage a profiling of Igbos in the international security arena. We know other self-determination groups in Nigeria that are armed and have destroyed government and private sector installations and wealth that government prefers to negotiate with rather than label them as terrorist organizations. Fulani herdsmen, otherwise called the Fulani militants, have ravaged farms in the Middle Belt, Southwest, and Southeast Nigeria, killing several farmers in the process. In January 2016, they killed 500 farmers and their families in Agatu in Benue State. This year alone, over 1,000 people have been murdered by them in the Middle Belt, and many more displaced from their homes. In Enugu State, they murdered more than 100 farmers in Ikpabi, in Nimbo, in April 2016. Photographs depicting them with automatic rifles trend the entire world media. Yet, not one of them is facing criminal charges. Nor is Operation Python dance being conducted in the areas where they ravage and kill, and the federal government describes them as criminals and not terrorist organizations, notwithstanding their classification by the Global Terrorist Index as the 4th deadliest terrorist group in the world. See British Independence newspaper of 12th July 2016, which indicated that Fulani Gatesmen killed 1,000 people in 2014. The recent deployment of soldiers in the southeast, called Operation Python Dance, is in my view unfortunate. Deployment of army is only allowed in the circumstances of insurrection, terrorism, and external aggression, not in preventing of killing of priests or fighting kidnapping, as the army says. And this is constitutional. And in those circumstances where they can be deployed, leave of the Senate must be sought. This brazen impunity in dealing with matters which concern the Southeast is provocative. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our country stands on the edge of a precipice. As we approach a general election, we must embrace it as the last opportunity to salvage our sovereignty. Only restructuring can save us. Any party that does not support restructuring in our country is singing its own non-limites. Quite often, when I address an enlightened audience like this, I like to make a very philosophical distinction between self-determination and restructuring. Those who want self-determination want us to secede from Nigeria. They want us to have a referendum. They recite international organizations' instruments that allow countries to organize referendum and to determine the self-determination of any of their groups. That is a very noble objective, but it has very great difficulties in terms of implementation and realization. Why do I say so? I give you extant examples. There is a country called Morocco, which has a group in it called the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. Ever since I joined President Shehu Shagari's government in 1979, and I had the privilege of attending meetings of the Organization of African Unity, then now called African Union, the issue of Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic was repeatedly on the agenda of the AU. It's still not solved to today. We are all witnesses of the Catalonian example in Spain. In Spain, they had achieved restructuring by having regional governments and regional legislature. They even went further by the regional government of Catalonia organizing a plebiscite in which there was an outstanding majority in favor of self-determination. We can't even organize one like that because we have state electoral commissions whose statutes only allow them to organize state local government election councils. So they are not allowed, empowered by law, to organize referendum. Nor are they empowered to have a coalition of all state electoral commissions to organize something outside the statutes that establish them. So from a procedural point of view, we are already jaundiced by the legislation that created the states, which were, of course, legislations that were not subject to public acclamation or support. There was no referendum for them. But, you know, this is the law. This is the law that governs us today. And without it, there is chaos. So we are almost forced to comply with it, even though it is not in our will. Now, all the functionaries of government are elected under this law. So we have more or less acquiesced to it. Any attempt to subvert it will be seen as treasonable because it will be seen as questioning the law. And they will turn on the full arm of the law against you. In a country where the security apparatus functions outside the proclamations of the Constitution that every federal organization must reflect a federal character. In Nigeria, all the 16 military and paramilitary organizations are commanded by people outside Eastern Nigeria or Southeastern Nigeria. We have been declared technically incompetent or unreliable to head any military or paramilitary organization. which dramatizes our hopelessness in a country called Nigeria. But well, if you can't achieve secession, you can achieve restructuring. Right now, by an initiative of Ohanese, which first met Afenifere, and between Afenifere and Ohanese, we met the South-South partner, and between the three of us, the Middle Belt came and joined us. 4 regions of Nigeria have declared intention to have restructuring or not to be part of Nigeria. So, Iman and Igbo si na iji jibere n'ife na digiri na-eji ala were egwu ya. O nwere ka ị ga-esi wee chụ ife ị na-achụ. Olizie nke nwa na-achụ ya ịchụzi enwere isi. So in international parlance, every major security confrontation is fought in 2 alternative ways. It is either fought militarily or it is fought diplomatically. If you fight it militarily, you must be prepared to lose innocent people, lose cities and property. Now, no generation survives a war 2 times in its generation. The Igbos were 3.5 million Igbos were killed during the Nigerian Civil War. Now, I know that about 1.5 million people were killed in the war fronts and in the air raids that invaded us. I know that about 1.5 million people were killed by starvation. They died purely out of starvation. There was no way food could come into the place. We were constricted into a very small land area where cultivation was difficult because all the young men who would cultivate were in the war front. And the very little land that was being cultivated could not produce enough food to meet the millions who were there. Look, I've taken a census of Igbos in northern Nigeria since I became President General of Ohanese. And we are 11.6 million in northern Nigeria. We are doing our census in Lagos now. We turn an election from the wards to local government in the 58 development areas in Lagos State, otherwise called local government by the Tinubu administration. And as I left Nigeria this week, they had reached 3.8 and they are still counting Igbos in Lagos State. So you can imagine compressing all these people into one land in a war situation. We will be overexposing ourselves. Now there are 1 million Igbos in Ghana. I have sent members of my executive because they are divided into 2 factions in the Ohanese executive. I have dissolved both and appointed a caretaker committee. In China, they told me they have 500,000. In South Africa, they have equivalent number. I haven't taken an inventory of those in Europe, but I am sure they will threaten the number in South Africa or in China. In America, it is gargantuan. We are the largest ethnic group in America, and we are the ethnic group with the highest income average in the United States, higher than the American average income. Something to clap up for ourselves. You know? But this is not a population you want to waste in military exigency that you do not have the guarantee of success. It is one that recommends a diplomatic move. Now, 4 regions are asking for one instead of 1 region. So nobody will have Operation Python dance in 4 regions at the same time. Doesn't it make sense? Yeah. Secondly, if it is a matter of vote, 4 regions will outvote 2 regions. And right now, as I left Nigeria, and I'm sure you read in the social media, every major presidential candidate in the opposition has signed up to restructuring. Every major one says restructuring is the way. I mean, Saraki endorses restructuring. Vice President Atiku Abubakar endorses it. Governor of Sokoto State endorses it. Governor of Gombe State endorses it. I mean, what is left? We have put it on the political lexicography of Nigeria. We have made it occupy a center stage in the manifesto of anyone aspiring to a public office. So, all these going on cures or if for the I cannot end this lecture without thanking Igbos in Coventry for inviting me to share my thoughts on the structuring of the Nigerian Federation with you and to enjoy your New Yam Festival later this evening. Igbos in diaspora are a very vital segment of our society. You are the ones exposed to the new world order which we crave for in order to resurrect our economy. You are the ones with diverse skills which we need to retain our workforce and to plug into a new world order. You are the ones with a new vision of political leadership. Ohaneze counts on you to join hands with our political leadership to achieve a restructuring of the Nigerian Federation and to promote the emergence of an eastern region which will be the fastest growing region in Nigeria. I'm confident that you will not let us down. I thank you for your kind attention.
One more time, put your hands together. If you know you were not tutored, you were not lectured, you gained nothing, put up your hand. One more time, please put your hands. The statistics is clear. The order is clear. But one thing I like is that he's made me believe that the journey is not stagnated. We are moving and we are progressing. And I'm delighted to be an ICC member. And I'm delighted to be part of the people that have brought him here. Sir, I want to say thank you very much for traveling far from Nigeria to come and educate us. We are blessed to have you as a son of Igbo. We are privileged. And I look forward to seeing the day when restructuring will happen in Nigeria. To be honest with you, I've been to Russia. I've been to countries where I've spoken to a couple of people during conferences. When they hear from Nigeria, one thing they say is, how can a nation with such human and natural resource be at the state where we are today? But there's hope, and one day we will get there. I want to say thank you to all of you. I'm going to take about 5-10 minutes to receive questions. So if you have questions, I will encourage you to please show by raising your hand. 1, 2. We will not take question after question. So number one, number 2 there, and number 3. So we're going to take question number 1 from yourself. Please tell us who you are, and then you take your question.
Thank you. Mr. Moto, part of the group of Ohaneze.
I can hardly hear you, sir.
Mr. Mazi Moto, Ikeoke.
Moto.
From Ohaneze, London. First of all, apology for being late. Logistic didn't work out. Now, the question I want to ask, if we are going for a structure, which to me is the only way, if you know the history of Nigeria, I mean, Ohaneze hasn't been in a better hand than the gentleman who has just spoken to us. My confusion now is, the white man says, speaking from both sides of the mouth. Today we hear people asking for PVC. Have you registered for PVC? Are you ready for voting and so on? My problem, like I said, if we are going for a structure, would that be before or after the elections? Because I don't believe in election anymore. I'm talking about election and restructure, to me, is talking from both sides of the mouth. So I want to find out whether there will be, that is the position of Igbos, are we going for the so-called election, which to me is a farce? Because every year, every time, we do the same thing. Since 1960, we've been doing the same thing. We can't get a different result. There's no way. So are we saying, no voting? We're not interested in elections. We're going for a restructure. Or are we going to go for the so-called elections and then hope to go for a structure? I can't see that going through.
Okay.
Do we take all the questions, sir, or do you want?
You want me to take it as they come, or I record it and they read it once?
As they come.
It saves time if I take all the questions.
All the questions, okay. Please, question number 2.
My name is Dr. Nana Igwe, and I'm the president in the UK. My apologies for coming late. We drove all the way from London and we came with a full team to support what is going on. First of all, special thank you to the President General, His Excellency Ike for being here. The question I'm going to ask is, what is Ohaneze General doing to unite all Igbo frontiers in this battle for restructuring? The reason why I'm asking this question is for us to be prepared to carry everybody along in order to achieve results. Restructuring, I fully endorse. It has been implemented and carried forward in the most intelligent and the most planned way, involving other ethnic nationalities of Nigeria. The only worry is that the Igbos are not united. You have IPOB, you have an Igbo Development Union, you have A, B, C, D, E, all sorts. I know the President General is doing his best, but it would be important if we could hear if there's any plan to make sure that everybody is mobilized to be able to achieve this result. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Question number 3.
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Issa Mohammed. My name is Issa Mohammed.
Issa Mohammed.
Yeah, I'm from the middle part of Nigeria, Nasarawa to be precise. My question is linked to Mr. Moto's question because the Anambra election saw a boycott. There was a voter boycott as called by IPOB. Are we likely to see that in 2019 elections, and what is the Ohaneze Ndigbo doing to avoid such issues? Because from my own understanding, if you want to push a narrative, you must have people at the top who will push it for you. So if there's going to be vote boycott, that's, in my own understanding, is likely to affect the restructuring. Thank you.
Can I respond now?
Yes, sir.
Issa, I think I'll start with you. The premise of your question is fallacious, totally untenable. One of the areas I had very strong disagreement with the leader of IPOB was on the Anambra elections. We had lunch in my house, and I advised him against campaigning for election boycotts in Anambra. My reasons then were that under the present constitution in Nigeria, the alternative to a boycott of election is a state of emergency. Our constitution does not conceive of any situation in which the tenure of office of a governor and a deputy governor will expire and you have no one to replace them. It only conceives of a situation when a governor is impeached, dies, or incapacitated, and the deputy goes in. And while the deputy is there, the deputy is, without becoming governor, the deputy, or without appointing a deputy governor, the deputy dies or is suddenly impeached. It allows the speaker to become governor for a period of 4 months, during which election must be held. Outside of this, the constitution does not think of a situation where a state exists without a governor. And I am of the view that the way we have been ruled in Nigeria, in my part of Nigeria, we will be giving the present federal government an opportunity to destroy one of the best states in Igbo land. Anambra State has maintained the growth trajectory from the time of Ngige through Peter Obi to Obiano. No other state in the southeast has maintained a growth trajectory like Anambra has. And if you go to Anambra, it is very clear to you that the rural areas are disappearing. The network of roads in Anambra has made every place so close to each other. I mean, look, there is internet accessibility in most of the rural areas in Anambra. But if I go to my village, you know, when my wife was alive and was in hospital in England, I was nearly beaten by my Rottweiler. I don't like dogs, but I have to buy them for security purposes. But I needed to talk to my wife at night, and I came out in the night where I could get reception in my village home. If I go into my bedroom, I can only receive my call by putting it on top of my wardrobe. And if you wake up suddenly, by the time you reach there, you probably collapse as an old man. So I allow it to ring so that I know who calls me, and when I can, I call them back. So on this occasion, I went outside. And after I was, when I was talking to my wife, she was so happy and hilarious. And I was saying, so you have recovered. Then suddenly something said, God have mercy. I nearly died. But that is what Anambra has done for Anambra. Now, your contention that the boycott in Anambra was effective is fallacious. In the first tenure of the present governor of Anambra State, the votes that the number of voters who elected him to office were less than the number of voters who elected him to office and voted against him in this election. And in the history of Nigeria, no other governor has won election in all the local governments of the state except Governor Obiano. It has never happened in our history. So, and don't forget that a number of votes were cast were disqualified in Anambra on account of the fact that there were more voters than there were registered voters. So if you add the number of votes that were cancelled in Anambra, the call for boycott was obeyed more in breach. And it was because we all advised the leadership of Anambra to be diplomatic. Our young boys are angry, and I understand the reason for their anger, but it's not a reason to be unruly. They pursued the governor, even inside churches where he went to worship. I'm sure you all read about it. And we told him, when they come, abandon your official car, enter through the rectory or the Reverend Father's house and find a way to go out. Or what position a got-away car somewhere. So while they are waiting for you to come out, you would have gone home. A father and a son doesn't quarrel in public. So it was clear that these were active young boys, but they were in a minority. The bulk of the people wanted to exercise their franchise, and they did so. I don't believe in boycott of elections. Peter Obi would not have been governor if he boycotted elections. More so, he wouldn't have policed. I was one of the lawyers that worked for him at the end of the election. And his triumph was only a function of the fact that in every polling booth, he had an original copy of the result, signed by the presiding officer and the polling agent. So whatever they did in the collation area was null and void. And this is what we expect those of you in the diaspora to do. If you can't come home to register, come home when we are voting. When you stay there in your village, in your polling booth, nobody will do all that monkey. You will at least ensure that the correct sheet of result is written. And once it is written and in proper custody, if any court will overthrow the outcome. So that's my answer to your question. Now, Moto says, if we are going to restructure, will it be before or after the election? Should we boycott the election until they give us restructuring, or should we wait until after this election? And in any case, he does not believe that elections will ever be fair, and that we may end up with having the same system at the end of the election and postponing the day of restructuring. Well, you see, the alternative to boycotting the elections is the argument I just discussed. Whether we like it or not, Nigeria is a conquered territory. It's conquered by the military. That is the truth. We are ruled under a constitutional arrangement that we all have no hand in.
We are good. I mean, the constitution starts with the sentence, we the people of Nigeria make this constitution. When did we make it? I was in government at the time. Abdul Salami Abubakar's government made the constitution. In fact, the elections had been concluded before the constitution was made. They first published a decree, calling it the electoral decree. This constitution is a product of a decree. It was promulgated by decree number 45 of 1999. Nobody read the constitution, voted yes or no, do I support the constitution? I was Minister of Information under that government. And I had the privilege of attending meetings of Supreme Military Council. Myself, the Minister of Abuja by rank, and the Attorney General of the Federation, because he had to advise them on law. But the moment they began to discuss this constitution, they asked us civilian members to leave. I mean, executive confidentiality will not allow me to depose all the reasons for this. But the soldiers were quarreling and threatening each other on Sharia or non-Sharia provisions in laws. There were stiff divisions amongst them across tribal lines. And because there was a show of shame, they asked all of us to go. So we couldn't even make a contribution to the discussions of governments and apartheid. I was a minister in the government. I couldn't say anything about it. And the constitution was not promulgated until after the election. No members of Senate were delayed in order to have a copy of the constitution. It was still in print. Could you call that a constitution? And yet it is the ground norm. It is what creates our local governments, what creates our states, what defines our relationship, between the federal and the state governments. And it is a misnomer. And nobody will believe that intelligent people like this come from a country like that. All of us have been hoodwinked by a military band, and it is the sheer use of force. And so when President Trump calls us inhuman, primitive, we cannot but accept it. Because in your secluded locations in the United Kingdom, this is happening in your door. What would Gandhi have done in his times? Wouldn't he have left his secluded environment and go and lead a movement of passive resistance? What would Martin Luther have done? What did Mugabe do when faced with such situations?
Mandela.
We must all think about this as we approach this election. I think that if you cannot be Mugabe, if you cannot be Mandela, if you cannot be a Mandela, if you cannot be Martin Luther King, you should at least go home when the voting is on. And the fact that you know fundamental human rights, and you stand there and say, soldier, this won't happen here, nothing like this. You have to kill me for it to happen. Little drops of water make an ocean. If each one of us is there, we can have free and fair election. So the answer is to expect the composition of the National Assembly as presently constituted by delineations of constituencies procured by the army to ingratiate themselves as those who won the war of colonizing Nigeria for the military. I mean, are you surprised that Yar'Adua was brother of a former general, Obasanjo was a general, our present leader is a general? I mean, this is civilian administration under military colonization. Isn't it obvious? This is a hangover of the loot. They are still ruling us. So, I think that the most sensible thing to do is to win them in their own battle. And really, many Nigerians, it is wrong, that is philosophically wrong for somebody to be elected under the platform of one party and to change to another party. But party doesn't mean anything in Nigeria because it's not a movement. And it's very difficult when you belong to a party and they are doing things that are inconsistent with your ideological orientations and your religious convictions. So I pity those who are forced to the point of moving. There is no other way except for Nigerians to aggregate on the side of those who want things to be done right. Thereafter, we can fine-tune our ideological differences. Babangida's government, in fairness to him, started something nice between SDP and NRC. They were conservative and progressive, and you could draw that thin line between them, but it has disappeared with time. And it is our responsibility to reconfigure. President of Ohanese UK, what are we doing to unite all forces? I might as well ask you that. Because he missed that very important lecture. He named all the associations that exist in Great Britain masquerading as head of Igbo, whether they are CIC, whether they are whatever, you know? I mean, the Igbo man is too Republican. It's too Republican. They don't believe in central authority. You know, it's a very difficult thing to impose on them. And the most annoying aspect of it is that once an Igbo man achieves economic power or intellectual prowess, he anoints himself a leader. And if nobody follows him, he goes and registers an organization and calls himself a leader. You know, and it's an ego trip. You know, and we have to self-critique ourselves about this capacity for I all the time. You know, I am not in any way distracted by the existence of organizations that tend to challenge the authority of Ohanese or its audacity to speak for Igbos. I never wanted this position, and I was elected into it, and I owe the people of Igbo who elected me service. I'm not paid a salary for it. And if it is a sacrifice to make your people, I have humbly offered myself. Professor Soludo gave me a book called The Man in the Arena. If you are the man in the arena, you have to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, you know, the concept of total unity is unrealizable. What is realizable is good leadership with a goal and a focus, a direction, and which cannot be moved down or intimidated. That is what I humbly offer. And in the process, I have reached out to all those who want to rub shoulders with me. I have reached out to all those who believe that their intellectual prowess dominates that of Ohanese and that we know nothing. In coming to the templates that we proclaimed in Oka as the Igbo template for the structure, we held town union meetings in Abuja, in Lagos, as well as in Enugu. Professor Wala of ADF was at the Lagos Town Hall meeting. He found himself in a minority of Igbos who came together to discuss their view on self-determination versus restructuring. He is a member of Igbo Ohanese. He was present at the meeting. We don't discriminate against those who come to our meeting. It's a contest of ideas. He found himself again in good point. If he couldn't carry the entire leadership, which included former vice chancellors, the retired chief of army staffs and what have you, traditional rulers who are chairman of their traditional rulers council, you know, we had both intellectuals and traditional rulers and political leaders, all governors, all former governors, you know, and this committee is headed by a former governor of Central Bank. And his deputy is a member of ADF. How more democratic can I be? I and my executive appointed that committee. And I made sure that everyone is there. Your organization in UK has been given a seat in the MOBI. The question is how you continue to finance people to come to Enugu to come and hold meetings. I am going to give WIC, I'm going to give CICA, I'm going to give all these organizations that exist in the diaspora seats in the highest making policy organizations of Ohanese. In fact, I wanted to say to ICC today, as well as Ohanese UK, I wanted to give you a challenge. One of the greatest problems that Ohanese faces is pecuniary difficulties. And we have quite a mass of Igbos who are ready to support what we are doing. I wanted to give you a challenge to do an electronic portal for us. Appoint additional members from Europe and America, and increasingly from the Far East, if China and so on, and Malaysia and so on become reasonable. Now, what we intend to do is to ensure that this board of trustees manage this one. Those who have appointed at home now include, for an example, in Anambra, we have Yobi of Onitsha, who retired in Shell,
as well as Emeka Nyogo, who was Secretary General of Commonwealth. I mean, these are distinctive people. You can vouch their capacity to be trusted with Igbo funds. And they are here. Now, this is the kind of people you have in all the states. Now, the idea is that every Ohanese executive, after I have left and while I'm there, will make an annual budget to Imo, just like a government makes to a parliament. And whatever is going to spend will be what is approved in the annual budget. The rest will go into an Igbo development fund. And you know, if 12 million Igbos pay 100 naira a day, my friend, in 1 year, we'll have enough money to build rail tracks reticulating the whole of Igbo. We will have enough money to build industrial parks wired by natural gas, which is under the earth in Enugu, in Anambra, in Imo, and in Abia, and are being tapped all the way to Lagos as I speak to you now, under a federal government development plan. So, I don't understand. Our place will become an industrial hub of the world because the state governments can't do this. But we have the capacity to do so. My brothers in Western Nigeria have gone very far in building a digital framework that will explode IT technology and usage in Western Nigeria the moment restructuring is announced. Our boys are working. They are doing a lot of plans on paper. But what will catalyze it? Except we develop the spirit of giving you something. When do you say there's 100 naira per person? I know that Professor Philip will give more than 100 naira if he sees that this thing has a way. And I'm sure that all the metallurgy and things that he teaches here, he will find something much more useful to do. There is a group in America that is coming to build a hospital in Enugu now, a 200-bed hospital. And they want to use this to stop the health holiday exodus from Nigeria. You know, I mean, there's no reason why we cannot find doctors who can do all the things that we come to Europe and America looking for. I went to do a blood test, a fasting blood sugar test with a friend of mine. We just decided to do a sample in Enugu. And we went to 2 laboratories, one in ShopRite area, which used to be called Polo Park in Enugu, and the other one in Upper New Haven, Upper Chima New Haven. Professor Anika and I went. We gave our blood. The first thing in the morning, to both laboratories. For each one of us, they produce diametrically contradictory. So you can imagine how a doctor begins to treat for and so every time I pass through London or go to America, I go to Harley Street and go to analysis. I go to law. My doctor in America says to me, John, you came here 3 months ago, right? You don't need to do this every 3 months. I'm sorry. We are very highly exposed to that. My cook may just be preparing my salad and cuts his hand. And I eat it without knowing and I'm finished. So I need to do it as often as I take every cook. I have 2 cooks now. I take them to HIV analysis. If they do one, I tell my secretary to make sure in the next 6 months they do another one. There's no way you can do it. So, my brothers, we need a kind of your attention in our country. Your knowledge is wasted if it is hoarded. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. No one will doubt your wealth of knowledge and your experience in the topic you've covered. One key thing he's mentioned is the ability of Igbo man to get prepared should be the restructuring we want. To be honest with you, it is the ingenuity of the Igbo man that is missing in Nigeria. That's why we are where we are. Put the ingenuity of the Igbo man in active action in Nigeria. Nigeria will become like Malaysia and Korea. Therefore, I strongly believe that once we begin to actively engage and begin to, put our resources, our knowledge, our expertise into work in Nigeria, we will never be the same again. And I'm very happy that this lecture is happening here, and you are listening. And I want to use this wonderful opportunity to thank every one of you that find time to come here. Like you can see, very few people came. I want to believe many more people will come in tonight. Yes. But I think I respect you more. And I want to say thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you again in the evening. In the absence of any other thing from the chairman of the organizing committee, please put your hands together for this young man.
Come on, the actual time, the thing will start up now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been corrected. I've just been corrected. If you have the program, if you look at item number 7, item number 7, as the chairman, the imperative of uniting Igbo global for social, political, and economic emancipation. It was supposed to be a brief talk by the Ohaneze Igbo UK branch. Please, it's going to be very short. He said, even if it is 5 minutes. Please, I beg your indulgence. So please give him your listening ear. Over to you, sir. Thank you, sir. Please put your hands together for him. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will stand on the existing protocols. Again, I wish to apologize for coming late because we drove all the way from London and we had a lot of traffic. I want to, recognize the, President General of Ohaneze League, Chief John Nyamodo, Professor Doza, who is our father here, and all the executive members of ICC, Chief Anthony Ajuda, he handed over to me, the former Ohaneze, president, and all the women, everyone, children, Nkonye chiri ya zero. Igbo kwenu! Igbo kwenu! Igbo kwenu no. Probably if you are not from Igbo extraction, please, just special greetings to you. That's what it is. What I'm going to talk about is the imperative of uniting the Igbos for social, political, and economic emancipation. The experience of Ohaneze UK. Incidentally, that was the question I was asking the President General, and he threw it back at me. I would make a brief presentation and share the experience of what we've done since we came to office in the last November. It's not up to a year now. So. The background is that the Igbos, we've listened to the President General, the Igbos in Nigeria from history are the bridge builders. We are the most reliable ethnic group, the most resourceful ethnic, the most talented, and the kindest group of people. We are egalitarian, And we do not stay where we are because we go to other people, we survive there. And that shows a shared intellect, shared enterprise, and a shared ingenuity. There's an acronym which IGBO, Igbo, stand for. It means Ingenious Global Business Organization. Ingenious Global Business Organization. And what that means is that the Igbos, whatever we face or wherever we go, we're business people, we're intelligent. Any place you go and there's an Igbo, no Igbo man, please, no one will survive there. Any part of the earth that you go and the Igbo man is not there and prospering and doing his business and doing his job, no one will survive there. We held a conference recently, a pre-conference, and one of the most respected professors, Professor Chris Imafidon, described Igbos as a global phenomenon. Now, he said, and I quote, that the work that Professor Chike Obi did in Oxford has never been challenged, and no one has attempted to do more. The work Professor Chike Obi, the late Professor Chike Obi did in Oxford University has not been paralleled, has not been equaled. No one attempts to work the mathematics. So some mathematics he solved. That is an Igbo man. And he said the work the late Dikemba of Nnewi did at Cambridge University has again not been challenged and still unrivaled. Now, he also said the father of the internet is our own Professor Emegwai Philip from Onitsha. And he went on and on. The first black president of Oxford University student, the first black president, an Igbo man. The first black president of the Cambridge Student Union is an Igbo man. The list is endless. If we do our DNA, if our DNA is done, Haiti, 9 population of the Haiti people are Igbos. If you go to Gabon, the president at the moment has Igbo origin, and so on and so forth. We know we are Jews, the relation with Israel, and so on. So, the Igbos have come a long way, but we in Nigeria, we have suffered a lot of marginalization. But out of that marginalization, we have shown our greatest. We survived after the Civil War. We were given £20. And out of our unusual enterprise, ingenuity, and talents, today, as I speak, without any doubt of contradiction or any iota of contradiction, Igbos have economically conquered Nigeria. The Igbos have economically conquered Nigeria. Why am I saying that? If you go to Abuja, most of the property, El-Rufai said it, and investments are owned by the Igbos. If you go to Lagos, most of the businesses and investments they belong to. If you go to the north, Kano, there's a business district, Sokoto, Kaduna, just name it, Gombe. Anywhere you go, if you come to Europe, the diasporans remit over $25 billion to Nigeria. If you go and take statistics of where that money is coming from, it is predominantly the Igbos. I think we deserve a round of applause. Now, the problem is that the Igbos have conquered themselves psychologically. What am I saying? The Igbos believe more. We are oppressed, we are marginalized, but we have failed to see the positive aspect of what we have and the ability for us to be able to help ourselves with what we have. And therefore, I am proposing that if we unite ourselves globally, we will be able to turn around and develop Ala Igbo via self-help. And that will be in conformity with what Ohanaeze is already proposing, making these small contributions towards Ohanaeze. And if the funds are properly utilized, then Ala Igbo will be the right place, the new London, the new New York, the new Dubai of Africa. That is the next vision. Now, some of the problems we have are social, economic, political marginalization. We know all that. We do not have, there's a decay of infrastructure. There's disunity and infighting, official corruption, bad governance, accountability is lacking, election is, is bazaar, winner takes all, rigging is all over the place. There's lack of industries, there's destruction of agriculture, the herdsmen are there killing people, and we lack patriotism. The failure of Ndi Igbo to invest in Igbo land, that is a big one, because we prefer to invest outside, but we fear to invest in our place. So this is the time for us to change, and that is the time for a paradigm shift. Now, what do we propose? We propose a formidable peace, unity, and reconciliation park or ideology, which I believe will fast-track development. Where there is no peace and there is no unity, there will never be progress. And I think that the idea of everybody wants to be, head, Igbo Wednesday, I think is a time for us to re-engineer and recreate our own future. Time has come for Igbo to Wednesday, because if we don't do that, we do not stand a chance of pulling our enormous resources and natural talents to the advantage of Igbo development. There's a lot we can do. For instance, today, the first indigenous car producing company in Nigeria is owned by an Igbo man. If you go to Nnewi, you see the reality of investing in Ala Igbo by indigenous people. In Lagos, Abuja, other parts of Nigeria, that's done by the Igbo people. What will our place look like if we take 1/10 of those businesses home? So it is time for Think Home philosophy. We, asking for promotion of Igbo language, our tradition, and our culture. It's time to rekindle, the Igbo enviable heritage. We need to respect our elders. We need to know good behavior. We need to speak our language. We are a very proud people because of our heritage. We have a good administrative system. If you go back to history, in our villages, there's peace, there is order. And if you do things wrong, we believe in working hard. All the tenets of good democracy has existed in Igbo land for decades. And it's time to go back to those essential years and use what we have, our tradition, to be able to build a better future for Ndi Igbo. We propose a paradigm shift now in business. in politics, in all we do. For instance, if you go to Abuja as a representative and they say, oh, give me money, they say, no, I want the project in my state, in my constituency. If they give you money to do something, please go ahead and do it. Don't, convert it to something else. Don't embezzle it. We need a major shift. We need a paradigm shift. We need good governance. We need accountability. We need free and fair. We need true democracy in Igbo land and in Nigeria. We need patriotism. Patriotism and more patriotism. I'm saying it 3 times. The Igbos, it's time for us to show that we love an Igbo first, before we love other people. We must love ourselves more than others, because that is the only way the Igbo people can develop and change. Now, we subscribe to restructuring as had been eruditely elucidated by the one and only President General. We support reconciliation, we support rehabilitation, and we support rebuilding. 5 R's. We need to repair ourselves, to restructure, reconcile, rehabilitate, and rebuild our Igbo. It is the Igbos that can do it. I propose education and more education. We need to have quality education, and we must establish credible schools in our Igbo, so that this era of our children, when they score high marks, they don't see where to go because school opportunities are being rationalized. That should stop, because we have what it takes. Now, the Ohanese UK has done something in the last few months since we came to power. We have looked at the disunity among the various and litany of organizations in the UK. And we decided what we call Ohanese and You. Now, Ohanese and You is a small idea which we didn't want to make it complex. We just said, okay, everybody talks, what is Ohanese doing, what is this, but everybody had 20, 30, 50 questions to ask of what Ohanese is or what is Ohanese. So we decided that we're going to take it to the people with simple ideology, to just come and have town hall meetings and then listen to the people. We started in most of the organizations in London. We went, CIC was doing a project, we went and joined, and we did economic summit. Professor Cheludo was there, and that was a huge success. A memorandum of understanding has been signed for a massive fund from Europe that project will soon be implemented for the development of Igbo. Now, we went to different organizations, and what have we been doing? We come to your meeting, we listen to you, we preach message of peace, reconciliation, and unity. And then we listen to people and answer their questions. And since we started that, it has been phenomenal. The effect has been massive. We have been able to go to Leeds, to go to Manchester, to go to Hampshire. We have gone to Liverpool, Milton Keynes, and so on. And now every organization wants Ohanese to come, because they now can see what is Ohanese can do. For instance, when I was in Birmingham, the IPOB group, they planned that they would beat me and my team there. Because they say, this is the first time they have seen Ohanese. They just heard for Ohanese, they have not met Ohanese. Now, when we went there, they asked us 10 questions, ranging from where is Nnamdi Kanu to why is the Operation Python Dance, to so many things. But when we took it, to the basis and answered them, and the ones we didn't have the answer, like where is Nnamdi Kanu, we said we don't have the answer. we think the federal government should know because, the President General has asked the question and we are asking the question. We don't know where Nandi is. But what we are saying is the Igbo land belongs to the elders, it belongs to the youth, it belongs to the male, it belongs to the female, it belongs to all of us. Whether you're IPOB, I don't think that you have more stake. The marginalization of the Igbos has affected everyone. The President General was a soldier in the Nigerian army, and he was in Biafra army, and he was in Ozakoli, in those trenches, and he lost very credible friends, and so many of us, and our fathers, and our relatives played very key role in that Biafra war. And what we're saying is that Ozo Emedina, just like the TG has said, and that's what we are backing. So, what we have been able to identify is that by going round to all the unions and having meetings and listening to them and discussing and sharing ideas, that the people have now decided to trust us. A lot of organizations are coming voluntarily to register with us. My list of people to visit is now endless. Organizations. So we are uniting the people because the President General has said it, that the value of the knowledge, the experience, and the intellect of Igbo diasporans, especially UK, is very critical to the change and development of the future of Igbo land. And that is why we know we have to unite. Now, if we unite with our one voice, we have infinitesimal potential to be able to change the future. Whatever happens, whether we're in restructuring or we have a self-government, we will be prepared and we will be able to turn things around to the best interest of Ndi Igbo. Che Igbo kweno. Igbo kweno. Igbo kwezo no.
Please put your hands together for him. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. I am very, very grateful. He's spoken well. There is no way we can succeed without unity. There is no way we can succeed without unity. I want to quickly say to the President General, we have been able to implement a portal system for ICC where members can register online. We house our minutes online, people can access it. We'll try to put everything electronically. Members can log on to register and pay their dues, and that is monitored. You can look at our minutes anytime. You could log on and look at your portal, and I think we can replicate that or even do better for ICC. Yeah, by one of us here. That's our IT. And I do strongly believe that if we have something that could put Ohaneze before everyone that has an Igbo name or anything that has to do with southeastern Nigeria to register and become a part, and they begin to see the benefits, I think we will go places. And it's a project that I would love to be a part of. If that is the challenge thrown to us, we will handle that challenge very well. Finally, we have spent a lot of time here, and thank you for your endurance, thank you for the resilience you have displayed today. I want to quickly invite the President of the Nigerian Society to please come and give us a brief vote of thanks. Please put your hands together.
Good evening, everybody. I want to thank you all for coming. We held this event in conjunction with the ICC, and I would say this is our own path. This is the path where we came last of the lecture. I really want to thank everybody for coming. I'm really glad that something like this happened during my own tenure. I'm really, really very glad. And I also want to say on behalf of the Nigerian Society here at Coventry University, I want to thank you for coming. And we also hope that this occasion is going to be sustained to reap the fruits of it. Again, like whatever was had in mind before this was started, that this occasion will continue to grow and be able to reap its fruits. Thank you very much for coming.
On that occasion, I want to say thank you for coming. Let me just say thank you for making this day a success. We want to thank you because you did not let us down. Thank you for bringing the President General to this place. Thank you for bringing Professor from Wolverhampton. Thank you for bringing our London team. Thank you for bringing everyone here. And Lord wants to say, as we leave here, we pray that you go with us, as we gather in the evening to demonstrate that you have blessed us with resources, just like other people will do back home in the Joko process. We want to demonstrate here too that we are Igbos and that we love our culture and that we are grateful for how you have blessed us. We pray that we gather this evening that you will be there. As we go back home or go back anywhere we want to go, we pray for journey mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. I wish you well. See you again in the evening.